Bombshell tonight in the Nolan Wells investigation. A mystery altercation emerges. And not with the guys that took him to the island on the boat. Does this change things? We cannot ignore it. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
If people are sending in videos, they should be using those videos to conduct further investigation.
There is a group of people fighting at 5 p.m. Who are they? Where was he? He wasn't floating in the water. He wasn't on the shore.
3 people from 3 states are now facing federal charges. The charges are not related to the death of the teenager. That is the official record. Read it again. 3 people, 3 separate states, federal charges. And none of them are charged with what happened to Nolan Wells. The Justice Department stepped in not for a death, but for the threats that followed it. That is the gap we are here to examine.
Tonight, evidence of a so-called mystery altercation is emerging. Straight out to Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Dave, what can you tell me first about this so-called mystery altercation? And this is not with the men that went to Horn Island on
the silence where answers should be is now being filled by something else entirely. And the central question of this entire investigation is not what the friends did on the boat. It is what happened after the boat left, and whether the person who knows the answer is already in the water, on the shore, or has simply vanished into the noise. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Endless Crime, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence.
Crime Stories is not a symposium, a gathering place for a witch hunt. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. We are here to convict no one yet. And if evidence of a mystery altercation with other young men arises, we are pursuing it.
Here is what we know. On July 4, Nolan Wells, an 18-year-old college football player, traveled by boat with friends to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The group returned to the mainland. Nolan Wells did not. His body was found 2 days later by a U.S. park ranger on the island's northwestern tip. The Jackson County Sheriff initially said it appeared to be an accidental drowning and that no foul play was suspected. The family's attorney, Ben Crump, announced that an independent forensic review concluded the cause and manner of death remain undetermined, pending further investigation. The independent pathologist noted red discoloration on the back of Wells' head was of great concern. He found no fractures. He could not rule out foul play.
In a fight, we didn't hear anything about abrasions or bruising or any type of injury that would be indicative of somebody that is a college football player fighting somebody.
Okay, now I have just told everybody that you're a forensic expert. It's starting to taste like a dirt sandwich. Because, okay, I'm going to let you sit in the corner and think about what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan.
That is the official record. That is what we have. And that is where the story begins to fracture. Because the narrative the public has been given is that Nolan Wells voluntarily remained on Horn Island after his friends departed. But his mother has said something else. She has said there is no way he would let the boat leave without his phone. His phone was not found with his body. It was found with one of the friends. The messages, according to the family's attorney, were no longer to be found. Someone erased them. So we are to believe that an 18-year-old who was never away from his phone.
That's the whole point. He's traveling with his phone, then he's on the boat. They're saying, no, he wasn't on the boat. Now this altercation has arisen, evidence of that emerging after the boat left. Who's telling the truth? The mom, his mom says, no way would he have let the boat leave without his phone.
Who was an elite athlete who could swim, voluntarily stayed behind on an island without his phone, without his ride, and then drowned. That is the official narrative. That is what we are asked to accept. But the evidence does not stop there. Newly surfaced video has emerged. Social media searches reveal at least 2 videos that are viral. One shows Nolan Wells in a heated altercation with a group of friends on a yacht. Another shows a boat, the Triton, which took on water before leaving.
Dave Mack, what do we know about some mystery altercation? We think after the Triton left Horn Island.
Nancy, this is a mystery altercation that is being described through social media as something that took place around 5 p.m. that day. This is 30 minutes after the Triton already left. And in this particular account, a Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Now, this social media conversation claims that a person, one of the passengers, pretty certain Nolan Wells, was part of a group that was, quote, almost fighting around 5 p.m.
Bip, 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 bip.
A distress call was made to Sea Tow. The boat left at 4:31 p.m. That is the timeline that matters.
Bip, whoa, wait. Hold on, Nellie. Did you say 5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I jumped in, Dave Mack, is because 5 p.m., if Nolan was seen in an altercation at 5 p.m. on Horn Island, that's after the Triton, had already left. Let's see the boat, control room. We're talking about the boat leaving Horn Island. That boat. Had that boat already left when this altercation occurred? Dave Mack, that's a yes, no.
Here is where the mystery altercation enters the frame. A friend of Nolan Wells, Traciston Shepard, has said publicly that he was involved in an altercation and needed to be restrained. He told ABC's Good Morning America, "That's me yelling." He told Rolling Stone he got into a verbal altercation. The family's attorney has described an altercation as Nolan and somebody yelling at one another on the boat. But the official account, the friends claim Nolan refused to board the boat. They claim they never saw him again. That is the version that has been presented. But the evidence does not align, because now we have a mystery altercation that is being described through social media as something that took place around 5:00 p.m. that day. This is 30 minutes after the Triton already left. And on this particular account, a Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. A person wrote a message saying,
Yes.
Listen.
But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, "Me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan," and to the effect of, "You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison." Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
"Me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison." That is not a casual conversation. That is a threat. That is a warning. That is the kind of language that does not emerge from a simple disagreement. So here is the ticking clock moment. If Nolan Wells was still on that island at 5:00 p.m., and if he was in a heated altercation with someone who was not on the Triton, then what happened in the hours between that altercation and the discovery of his body 2 days later? And more importantly, who was the last person to see him alive? The answer to that question is the entire case. And right now, that answer is nowhere to be found. The family has launched an independent investigation. They have obtained the full audio recording of the distress call made by the boat to Sea Tow. They have retained audio engineering experts to review the call. They are consulting with oceanic engineering experts to understand how tides and weather could have affected where Wells' body was found. They are working to reach an agreement with the district attorney to jointly investigate cell phone evidence. They are doing everything they can to find the truth. And yet, the official investigation remains ongoing. No one has been charged in connection with his disappearance or death. The investigation remains active, and the threats continue. 3 people have been charged in separate federal cases involving alleged threats connected to the Nolan Wells investigation. Edward James Porter of Illinois was charged after allegedly threatening a witness and members of a witness's family. He allegedly threatened to kill individuals connected to the investigation and their relatives. Michelle Francine Edwards of Ohio was charged after allegedly making bomb threats targeting Mississippi government offices, including the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumas of California was charged after allegedly sending a threatening message to a Jackson County Chancery Court judge connected to matters surrounding the investigation. Prosecutors and investigators have said none of the 3 defendants appear to know Wells, his family, or the group of friends who were with him on July 4. They are strangers. They are from 3 different states, and they are all facing federal charges for threats, not for the death. For the threats that followed the death. That is the pattern. That is the evidence. And that is the mystery we are left with. What happened to Nolan Wells? The official autopsy is inconclusive. The independent autopsy is inconclusive. The toxicology results are still pending. The family has received death threats. The friends have received death threats. The judge has received death threats.
Gone. He's dead. The investigation going on. Now she's getting threats. Isn't it true, Susan Hendricks joining us, investigative journalist, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, that someone actually called for an investigation into Nolan Wells' mother? Isn't she a home health care nurse?
She is, and it was an anonymous call saying that she needed to be investigated. To me, it was outright backlash connected to what happened to her son. It's despicable considering everything she's already going through.
And no one has been charged with the death of an 18-year-old who went to an island with friends and never came back. The evidence does not point in one direction. It points in every direction. And that is the problem. That is the gap. That is the silence that has been filled with speculation, vitriol, and now federal charges. But the silence remains, and the question remains. Here is the call to research. The United Cajun Navy, which aided in the search for Nolan Wells, has released a 20-plus page report of the information it has compiled so far in the case. That document is publicly available. Read it. Look at the timeline. Look at the photos. Look at the accounts. And ask yourself this one question. If Nolan Wells was on that island at 5:00 p.m., and if he was in an altercation with someone, then why did no one see him leave? Why did no one see him struggle? Why did no one see him drown? The answer is out there. It is in the evidence. It is in the documents. It is in the silence that has yet to be broken. We remember an 18-year-old, a college athlete, a son, a young man who went to an island with friends and never came home. And we are left with the evidence, the altercation, the timeline, the threats, the silence, and the question that remains unanswered. If you know something, don't hide under your bed. There were 125,000. The tip line is 228-769-3063. Do for Nolan what he would have done for you. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for endless crime. Because we don't just cover the story. We follow the evidence. And the evidence is still waiting for the truth.